Today on the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 worst rides that aren't at Magic Kingdom.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 54, where we discuss the top 5 worst rides that aren't at the Magic Kingdom.
Before we get to the list, I just wanted to take a moment to direct everybody to our social media pages. We've got Instagram and now Threads, which is, Instagram or Meta's answer to Twitter.
I looked at it a little bit yesterday.
TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We're at dislistpod on all the things. You can also find us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/dislistpod. If you subscribe there for, less than it would cost to buy each of us a coffee per month, you could end up with some early access to our new content as well as bonus content.
Great. Yeah, we do mini episodes on there, and if you sign up, you have access to the mini episodes that we already did. And
we've done some fun ones too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fun. And we had somebody who's a big Star Wars fan, because we don't talk about Star Wars a ton, even it's a Disney property, obviously, but we did a couple episodes in a row with Star Wars content. So
yeah,
but not all. There were a couple in there, which we haven't done a lot of yet.
And he definitely liked that. So
yeah. So if you're a Star Wars fan, this may be a good option for you.
I kind of want to read a review this week. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that's again, our friends who do Rope Drop and Park Hop, they like to start their episodes with that, and so we'll take a page out of their book. So shout out to those two. If you haven't listened to them before, they've been on our show and we have been on theirs, and they do really great podcast.
I've got one here from someone named Philly Marimba. This was a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It says, "It's excellent," is the subject, and it says, Great hosts who work really well together. Lots of great ideas and thoughts about Disney. I love listening and creating my own lists.
Good.
Which is the whole point.
Yeah,
That's exactly why. The reason I wanted to read that one is because it's exactly why.
Yeah, we got to remind people. We want to read other people's lists.
Yeah, send them to us. And we have a couple patrons who will always either send it to me in a message or post it on like a comment. And it's always great to see what they think. Sometimes they agree with us. Sometimes they don't. Many times it's like a hybrid of our two lists. So we love reading those. I do anyway.
I would say when we do the episode post every week, it has the orange background, it has the Epcot font. Whenever that is posted, I would invite everyone to comment there. So on the official episode artwork, that's where I would like to look to see everybody's lists.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's certainly one place. Sometimes I get the list over from, like, when we do lists on our mini episodes, our patrons will post there too.
That's cool
because
too.
I mean, those are patron exclusive, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to put it in the big one there.
Yep.
I'm not sure how I'm going to run this whole Threads thing, but have fun commenting there. I've been trying to use that as a little bit more of a loose feel.
It really has an Instagram feel to it. Especially if someone posts an image.
Yeah, it has an Instagram feel, but with the ability that I don't have to go and search through my phone to find the best picture to go with something I want to say to my, to our followers.
Yeah.
Which makes it so much easier, in my opinion. I saw a funny post about Threads. It said Threads is like that new hot TV show that some people have seen and some people haven't, and everybody who's seen it raves about how great it is, and everyone who hasn't seen it hates that they have to listen to people talk about it. And that's kind of like what's going on with Threads right now.
Yeah.
But join us on any social media platform and let us know what your lists are, just like Philly Marimba says that they do in their 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts. And if you haven't given us a review over on Apple Podcasts, please do. I think we should make this more of a habit, reading these, because I think it encourages people to go ahead and do the same and leave those reviews.
Since we're talking about that, I got a message this week too that I wanted to share too. It just, it made me happy, and I figured I'd read it on the show this week. So it's from a listener, and it says, "I'm currently sitting at work, wishing I had the day off, in a kind of gloomy mood because the weather has been rainy every day for weeks, which it has been here.
Yep.
This person is not in the same state as us, but apparently they have been having rough weather also. And then it says, so I've been re-listening to the podcast and it's been lifting my spirits. So I'm listening to you guys talk and I'm reminiscing about Disney. Just wanted to tell you. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really glad that we can lift some people's spirits. It's kind of funny that you bring that up on a day that we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of negative stuff.
But that's fun sometimes too.
Yeah. And I think
we haven't in a long time.
No, we haven't. And part of it was that those episodes didn't do as well numbers wise. And I think now like that our base is growing. I think that people actually like, for instance, the one we said like we would never do again.
Yeah.
That one did well. That was kind of a negative talk.
Yeah.
Our hot takes episode did well. That was kind of a negative talk. This
right.
isn't negative. I had a hard time making this list. We talked about how there are rides on this list that we actually like have to do on every trip, but we just think that maybe they're not great.
Yeah, and a couple of them for me are ones I've done my whole life, and it's it's part of that whole nostalgia thing that this ride is stupid, but when it's just kind of fun to do it.
Yeah,
and you'll hear here on the second half of the show.
Yeah, there really wasn't a whole lot of news this week except something that I got really excited about, and that was that they released the Food and Wine episode, or Food and Wine, not episode, Food and Wine festival menus.
Yeah, and
we're gonna do obviously recap episodes when I get back. But I had a thought.
Yeah,
I'm gonna post on Instagram as much as I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna post on Instagram in the stories while I'm there, me trying some of the craziest stuff that's there.
Okay.
In particular, I can't believe this is a thing. There is a pickle milkshake.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I know. I'm going to try it.
With sugar? Or is it like...
It's a pickle milkshake. I don't know. I'm not asking questions. I'm going to get it and try it.
All right, you're going to have to...
Now, here's the thing.
Wow.
Have you ever gone to Wendy's and gotten a Frosty and dunked your fries into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Salty, sweet, right?
Yeah.
Pickles are salty, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm not so sure that it's that big of a leap. Now, that said, I'm a little scared.
Well,
but I figure,
I had salted caramel at Dunkin' yesterday. So I went through the drive-thru and I got the salted caramel cold brew.
Yeah.
I have to say both so we don't get corrected.
I like that. That's more of a traditional taste. I figure here's the thing. You threw down the gauntlet last week.
Yeah.
Right? In for an ounce, in for a pound is kind of how I'm at right now. If I'm going to have to try this darn turkey leg.
Oh, it's going to be great.
I'm going to try some other things. Like at the wing place, there's these they're called scorching hot Scotch bonnet curry wings.
This sounds good.
Yeah. So I'm going to eat those.
I would try that.
I'm going to try them. I like hot food, so that one doesn't scare me as much. But I'm going to find some crazy stuff. I will try it. I'm going to spend the money to do it. Kind of one of those things where like, why not? Now people were complaining because there was not, and I agree, there was not a lot of new menu items this time around. Usually they reinvent everything. People were like,
well, that's a bummer for the regulars.
Right, but some of these things are the same things that I had 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and again, you got to look at it from a different lens. You have to look at it as, okay, I had it 2 years ago. That was great. I want to have that again.
But it's a food and wine festival. It's not you're not going to a restaurant. I'm a little disappointed that Disney really did just do a copy and paste. There are some new things. The booths are not really that imaginative this year. But I'm excited to go. My trip is about 20 days out as we're recording this. From the day that we drop the episode, it'll be, I think like 17 days. So I'm really excited to head out and do it. I'm really excited for Food and Wine because I had a blast the last time. And we have 3 days in Epcot, so I don't have to eat all those nasty things in one day. I don't think they're going to be nasty. I shouldn't say it like that. But a pickle milkshake scares me a little bit. But I figure,
who knows? You could be surprised.
This could be the new Grimace shake.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck that thing was.
Well, and I think the coverage will be will be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what you post. And when I did Disneyland, I tried to post as much as I could when I was there. And obviously, we got to do we got to go live a little bit and talk back and forth and do like the miniest of mini episodes, which was kind of fun. Walking around Cars Land, and I don't remember. Was I live over in Avengers Campus, or was I just in Cars Land?
You were walking through Cars Land, but you were waiting in line. So you started.
Oh, for the Doctor Strange show.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll have to do that at some point too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see how everything shakes out here with the food and wine. But we're going to head off to our halftime show, which this week is going to be brought to you by Stacy, one of our loyal patrons. So thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. See you in a minute.
About a year ago, Rob and I decided we were going to start a podcast about Disney. We had no clue how we were going to distribute it or how we were going to record it. Yes, he had an amateur recording studio in his house, but then we found Spotify for podcasters, and it turns out we didn't need any of that. We could record on our phones, on our computers. It really doesn't matter. The best part about all of it is they not only are free, but they allow you to make money. And if you're more of the visual person, you can make video podcasts. Ever since we started podcasting with Spotify for Podcasters, we've been able to make friends around the Disney community. I know it sounds silly, but some of these people who we've never met have become really and truly good friends. I hope you'll try out Spotify for Podcasters. And if you really want to make a podcast, you should go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Trust me, it's a lot of fun, and you have no idea who you'll meet.
Welcome back to the Diz List. We are going to be counting down our 5 worst rides that aren't in the Magic Kingdom. A couple weeks ago, we did our favorite rides that aren't in the Magic Kingdom. Now we're going to do what rides are the worst rides not there. And I will say, there's some of these rides that I actually enjoy.
Yeah, me too.
But it is what it is, right? I mean, you can be the shortest person on a basketball team and still be 6'2".
Yeah.
So I guess, we're going to have to...
It's a good way to look at it, honestly.
Like there's always, MIT has somebody in the class that comes in last. They're still really smart.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So you want to get started? Because I don't even know how to wrap my brain around some of these decisions I had to make on this.
Yeah. This particular ride it's not awful. It's just not my favorite kind of ride. And this particular ride is a clone of, there's 3 rides in all of Walt Disney World that are exactly the same. And they're spinners. And this particular one, it's nothing awful about it. It's cute. Kids like it. I've ridden it maybe twice ever, and it's Triceratops Spin in Animal Kingdom. It's just a spinner ride that, rotates around that center axis and goes up and down. And, the positive is that you kind of get kind of a fun view of Dinoland, but there's not a lot in Dinoland I really want to watch, but it's my number 5. It's not awful. It's not great. It just is what it is.
Yeah. So this is on my honorable mention. And the only reason it didn't make my list is that particular park struggles to find attractions for little kids. Right.
Yeah. And
so there's not a lot. I mean, you have that's one of the things about Dinoland USA that whenever I complain about it on social media, people come back with, yeah, but guess what? They have the Boneyard and they've got Triceratops Spin.
Yeah.
And it's great for little kids. And I can't argue that. That's why I didn't crack my top 5.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think it probably would be lower than my number 5, but man, not.
What ride wasn't awful, and I don't think you ever got to do it, was the Primeval roller coaster.
I didn't,
that was right
because
behind
it was shut down for refurbishment, I think, my first year, and then the next time I went, it was shut down.
Yeah.
So
I think of all the times we've gone as a family, it was only ever open once.
Yeah, I wish
so we only rode it one time.
I've heard it was a great ride. I don't know. I didn't get to do it.
Well, so. And the funny comparison, it's not really ironic, but when we were in California Adventure, they have a similar ride, which is the Goofy roller coaster there.
Right.
And we weren't able to get on it. It was open during the day, but that's the one that we tried to get on during the fireworks. I don't know if you remember that story, and we couldn't get on it. But that ride is a very similar ride to this one, which also we didn't get to do. But at least I got to do that one time. So that land, we're going to wait and see what happens to it. I'm curious whether they're going to get rid of Dino Land. Did they announce Dino Land's gone completely, or are they going to keep any part of it?
And they didn't really. I mean, remember when they did D23, it was almost like an announcement that eventually they might make an announcement. It wasn't.
That was all part of the blue sky.
Yeah, 'cause it wasn't.
Keeping something that's dinosaur related, I think, is probably important. I mean, it's part of our.
Is it though? Is it?
Yeah, because if it's Animal Kingdom, these are creatures that are animal. We can consider them animals.
Well, they're animals, yeah.
I mean, I guess it's anything that isn't human. They're kind of considering that, right? Bugs and amphibians and everything else. It kind of all falls under that animal category. So I think
Navi.
Dinosaurs. I know, and that's the weird part because originally Animal Kingdom, if you look at the sign when you walk in, there's a dragon on there. Because the original plan for Animal Kingdom was going to be, animals current, past, and I was going to say future. That almost came out of my mouth. Yeah. Fantasy is the word I'm looking for. Fictional fantasy characters like dinosaurs or, wampas or any other,
A wampa.
Well, I wish they would go that direction, but not that I have anything, not there's anything wrong with Avatar. Avatar's cool. I don't love Avatar as the franchise. My son absolutely loves it. I think the movies are good, but I'm not an Avatar fan like I am a Star Wars or Marvel fan.
That makes sense. So we don't have to travel far to get my number 5.
Sure.
My number 5 is also in Animal Kingdom. My number 5 is also in Dino Land, and it's dinosaur.
Yeah, also on my honorable mention.
So
but I like that one for traditional. Well,
not my dino stuff.
Yes.
So it's an okay ride. You get off that ride though, needing to go see your chiropractor. And after hearing what you described when you came back from your trip to Disneyland and DCA, and you said that Indiana Jones is like one of the best rides you've ever ridden. It was like,
I don't know that after thinking about it, I don't know if I would go that far.
Either way, you would.
It was a great ride, but if I'm going to rank, maybe that's what I need to do is rank. Would it be in the top 10?
But how many factors? How many factors better is it than?
Oh my gosh,
dinosaur.
Oh,
right.
I mean,
and it's the same track system. It's not.
Put an exponent on it. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Like that's what I'm saying is like this is not. You're not talking about. You can't really compare the two as far as their worthiness to the park.
Well, and I think the reason that Indiana Jones is so much better, and for listeners who are like, what are they talking about? Dinosaur and Indiana Jones essentially have the same guts. It's the same ride that is embellished differently with either dinosaurs or, the Indiana Jones characters. The biggest difference for me from riding both is Dinosaur is, 80% pitch black, right?
Yeah, it's super, super rough too.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're going in Indiana Jones, it's light the majority of the time. And the whole middle part of the ride is wide open. So you can see around and the experience is really interesting. But I get that's what they wanted to do with Dinosaur. They wanted to make it like a horror ride. Yeah. They wanted to make it scary.
I don't get the reasoning behind it being I don't like the whole premise of the ride, right? Oh, you're going in time travel. You're going to go and do this. You got to bring this not our dino.
How are you bringing a dinosaur back?
Yeah,
what is it going in your backpack?
Yeah, are we gonna throw a Pokeball at it and we're gonna get it like it's Pokemon?
That's the only thing that makes any kind of sense.
The whole premise is really weird, and I feel like I just feel like it doesn't belong in. I don't even mind honest, take my disdain for Dinoland USA out of it. I just don't think it's a good ride. Maybe if I could see better, then I could prepare myself for how shaken I'm going to get.
Let me ask you this.
Yep.
Let's say they change the lighting. You know, instead of, you really only see, it's 80% black. Let's say now it's 65, 70%. You can see a little bit better. And they make it so the cart, again, if you haven't done this ride before, it almost has hydraulics in it that, those cars from the 90s that they had in a lot of the hip hop videos where they're like bouncing down the street.
Yeah.
That's my closest comparison. Let's say they make the hydraulics a little less intense. Do you think it would make your list if you could see a little bit better and it was less bumpy?
I think it would make my list if it was better themed as well. I think that's a big part of it for me.
Okay.
Like, I honestly think that they could, if they wanted to do that area on the cheap, if they wanted to redo Dinoland on the cheap, they could make that a Zootopia ride. And you remember the whole scene in Zootopia where they're like they're in the woods, they're escaping from the people who are, well, with that flower, right? Wasn't it a flower or something like that? So they could do a scene where you're escaping from that, or some criminal, or you're chasing as, Judy Hopps the cop.
Well, in that one scene, they're chasing. Oh gosh, she's running through the city and she's chasing the one criminal, and I forgot what. Oh no, they were in the store or something. I watched it on a plane.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, they could actually do that on the cheap. They really could. They could do that ride, or do that land on the cheap and turn that into a better themed ride with IP. I don't want them to do that, but they could.
Yeah.
I just don't think it. I mean, I know it fits Dinoland USA, but I don't think that ride fits Disney.
No.
It's not well imagineered. In my personal opinion, it's not a very well thought out ride.
No.
But yeah, that's my number 5. So.
I had it on my honorable mention. It's not the greatest. I mean, we, as a family, we have all these like goofy traditions we do on that ride where we all yell out, "Not my dino." And I know when they do the photo, and I pretend to be asleep every time on the ride. And so we get our photo back, and my daughter's making a funny face or doing air guitar. And like, I got my mouth wide open, like I'm sleeping on the ride, which is not really possible with it, like going up and down and like
slamming you around.
It really is.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 5. I don't know. What's your number 4?
So, you don't have to go very far for this one either. This is still in the same park, and we've talked about this ride a lot. And I realize what Joe Rohde's going for here in number 4, Kali River Rapids. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of rides where you get soaked to begin with. I mean, my one exception is probably Splash Mountain. You get a little wet.
Yeah, if you're not in the front seat, you're not going to get soaked. Your front seat, you can get totally drenched.
Yeah, and I don't know why that doesn't bother me as much. I think this ride, like, I don't want to be just dripping with water. Like when I'm going to a theme park, unless I'm going specifically to Typhoon Lagoon and I know I'm going to go in the water and get wet, I don't know if I want to get soaked. Some people love that. I mean, if you're listening and you're like, nope, I have to do that because it's going to be 102 degrees and I need to get wet and cool off. Like, I don't know. For me, when it's humid, I'm already feel like I'm soaking wet.
I think that, I think that park suffers from the fact that it is already so humid in that park because of all the vegetation.
Right.
And so that is a big part of it for me.
It really feels like you're in the Amazon rainforest when you're there.
Yeah.
All the vegetation is like dripping, it's like you're actually there.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the Kali River Rapids is your typical water ride. It's not a flume, but I'm trying to think of what the descriptor is.
A raft ride.
A raft ride. So you all kind of sit in a circle and it takes you up and then you sort of go along this trail. But Joe Rohde, who was one of the Imagineers, who mainly was one of the main people, there were other people. I don't want to say it was only Joe Rohde, but his thought process was deforestation and the changing and cutting down of trees. And I get it. It's a good story and it's a story that needs to be told, but either the ride needs to be longer because it's like you see all the trees burn down and you smell smoke and then there's a drop and it's over. It's like very short, or they need to, we've talked about this before, retheme it to something else. If you go behind where Kali River Rapids is, there is room. They could have expanded that more. I mean, maybe they ran out of budget money. I don't know. But they could take that ride, double it or triple it, and it may not be on my worst rides list because it would be a longer ride, more fun. I don't know.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's not number 4, but it's on my list. It's, we have talked about this before about how much we both dislike this particular ride.
Yeah, I mean, we can move on right now, and we can move on to your number 4. And
yeah,
if you're going to mention it later,
I'm going to talk about it again.
Go ahead and mention it a little bit later. Yeah. But there's so much you can do with this particular.
My number 4 might be on your list, even though you really like this particular ride, I think, or at least really like the property. My number 4 is Smuggler's Run.
Oh, that was on my list, and I changed it this morning.
Okay, so Smuggler's Run is on my list.
Okay,
because I've said it before. I don't like feeling pressure. Right? If it was just me in that cockpit, and even if it was just me and like a couple members of my family, but like you don't know if like last when we went, it was fine because we all got to ride it, and we were all together, and it wasn't.
Well, there were 6 of us, exactly.
Right, exactly. That 6 of us wanted to do it, and so it was perfect.
Yeah.
If you're going in there as a family of 4, or you're going in there as a single rider,
or you and your friend are just going to the park for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's not only is there pressure to do well if you're with somebody who like really is competitive, but there's also like I feel so busy, I'm not enjoying what the hell is going on. I didn't sign up. This isn't like Midway Mania.
Yeah.
This isn't like Space Ranger Spin. This is not like that. This is like I feel like there's no chance for me to just let me in that cockpit, look around, and I'll leave. And like make it a queue to nowhere like they have over in Magic Kingdom with the line
treehouse.
With the treehouse, the line that never ends. But to me, this ride is not a good ride. That's just how I feel about it. I know some people love it. I understand there's like a cheat code where you can get Chewie to co-pilot with you.
I don't care enough.
I just let me go in, sit down at the chess table, and then I'll skip the ride.
And that's the only reason why I didn't put it on my top 5, and I put it further back because just the experience of sitting in the Millennium Falcon at the table and getting the photo, for me that was enough to say, okay, this won't be on my list. But if I want to play a video game, I can stay home and play a video game.
Right. I'm sorry, but Star Tours is a better ride than this.
I think so.
So, yeah, number 4 for me, Smuggler's Run.
Last time I did this, and I maybe told this on the show, or maybe I just told you, I felt like I was doing really well.
Yeah, and we sucked.
Yeah, and we were like, all right, we got this. We're doing pretty well. Like, we're steering the Millennium Falcon pretty well. And then it was over, and we ended up doing terribly. Like, I can drive a car. Like, I understand, like, how that works when I don't know. I don't remember if I was up and down or left and right. You were one and I was the other. Yeah. And I don't think it was terrible, but apparently it was.
Yeah, I thought we did really well.
Yeah, and then we did. I was like, what?
What'd you do to my ship? It's like, okay, well, whatever.
Okay, well, number 3 for me is, it's a tough one because I enjoy this ride. Yeah. Is it also your number 3, maybe?
No, I think it might be higher on my list because I have a feeling I know what you're saying.
Number 3, anyway, it's Journey into Imagination with Figment. It needs work.
Yeah.
As a child growing up and going to Epcot, I loved Figment. I thought it was the greatest character. I'm a young kid. I love to draw. I love colors. I'm an imaginative kid. That pavilion was like my favorite thing. I loved Epcot for that. Now, there's been a lot of changes through the years. So the nostalgia factor is big for me because I keep wanting to go back. they had this rainbow tunnel. Have you seen the rainbow tunnel before?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen the videos and pictures. Yeah.
You know, being a young kid and running through and just seeing that color and just knowing now at this point in my life how color affects a person and makes them, you know, happy or sad, and just running through that tunnel was so much fun, and all the interactive games. So the area at the end of the ride, I'm glad that they did the meet and greet in there. So you can do meet and greet with Ralph or Joy or Vanellope.
Yep.
I think is Sadness in there sometimes. I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean,
one of the other characters from Inside
I
Out.
can't remember now how they do it. I know Joy and Sadness didn't used to meet in that part, but they do now, I guess. So
there's a really good podcast called Disney Dish.
I was just going to say,
Jim Hill.
If you want to dive into the history of this,
it's a really interesting podcast.
It was like a 3-episode thing.
It was, and they go through and they kind of explain the history of this ride and how it's changed and why. And there's one scene in the original ride. This is not part of the current ride. So if you're listening and thinking you're going to see this, you're not. So there was a giant. It was almost kind of like if a person could pedal a smaller hot air balloon, okay, and it was
or blimp.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it too. And it had Figment was on there, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the guy's name. What's his name? The guy with the red beard, right? The Dream Finder is kind of, you know, riding it around, and they tell in the podcast that there were 3 separate rooms, and depending on where your cart was, you had to go in one of the 3 rooms that had the Dream Finder in it to get as many people in there at once. I highly recommend listening to it. But it has really become dated. If you look at the computer animation, it looks like it's, you know, a pre-Toy Story 1 computer animation. The Figment animatronics need a lot of work. You know, they've kind of been neglected. The end of the ride where they kind of go through Figment's house with the black light, I would say that's similar to some of the stuff that you may see in Fantasyland at Disneyland or over in Magic Kingdom. But it needs a lot of work. It's not a great ride anymore. I love the character Figment, so when I get to see and hear that voice and the singing and the imagination song, which is good. Like, that's probably the best part of the ride, is seeing the Figment animatronics and hearing the song. But the first half of it, I like Eric Idle. I like, you know, Monty Python. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't, that whole first half of the ride is like, but I get that they need someone to interact with Figment.
Look,
bring back the Dream Finder.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This is on my list. This is higher up on my list than you. Not by much. I don't understand how Disney, and they know this, how Disney can have a money-making property like Figment.
They make so much money off of Figment.
Like, the Figment merch is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I'm one of the people that buys it.
Yeah, I love Figment. My son collects Figment pens.
I have my Figment from the 1980s. I'm pointing at it right now. I have it in our studio.
The Epcot 40th Figment plush was like the day it came out on Shop Disney. It was purchased. Look, they know that they make bank on this. Give some of that money back to that attraction. Pay some money and do it right. I don't get it because it needs it so badly. And I don't know if maybe the reason they don't do it is because if they shut that down for any lengthy period of time, I mean, it would be devastating as far as, I shouldn't say devastating as far as capacity goes, but it certainly would not help capacity at that park.
Yeah.
But look, you can take a ride that's currently, I looked it up, 5-minute wait right now. Wow. So it's a walk-on.
Jeez.
And it's still one of the most beloved characters. You know why it's a walk-on? Because the ride's awful.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the character, but the ride's awful.
I'm curious if you were to get the data on the average age of the person purchasing anything that's Figment related, if they're around kind of middle-aged.
Maybe, but my daughter loves Figment. And
great.
My son.
What about the ride?
Oh, I mean, the ride. yeah, I know. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
there were talks of a Figment movie. They did a Figment comic book series. The Figment comic book series did pretty well.
Well, and we were told we were going to get a Figment meet and greet. Where the heck's that? You know, that was at D23 last year. Who knows? Look, it's higher on my list. I'm saying what I think about it now, and I'll just mention what number it's on my list when I get there. But
that's
like
fine.
it's just not. I'm with you 100%. It needs to be on this list, even though it is a must do every single time I go.
Yeah.
So, my number 3 is one we've already talked about. Cali River Rapids.
Yeah.
So Cali River Rapids, I have a few other reasons why I don't like it. And that's because there are better versions of this ride at local parks. Okay? Go to Great Escape in Lake George. They have a ride just like this.
Yeah.
It's a better ride. It's not themed. It's just better. I enjoy that one better than this. The theming, look, I get it. You want to teach us about deforestation. It's not, we've talked about this many times. It needs to be rethemed. If you're looking at places to bring in IP, bring in IP here, make it a Jungle Book ride, make it, I don't care what you do, right? You had mentioned something about, was it Shang-Chi? You said something about this ride?
I was trying to be creative.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was what Marvel property can you bring into the park that Universal doesn't own?
Right.
That's why I went to Shang-Chi.
Just quite literally anything. I feel like it's not good. And the soaking part is real. Like, there's got to be a way to make it so it doesn't get you don't get quite as wet, because you get absolutely doused.
Yeah, and there's certain, I mean, it's all luck of the draw, but there's certain seats where you go right under like a waterfall.
And also, like, depending on how like packed your raft is, like you might have if you're the only person in the raft, or if you have 3 or 4 people in the raft and you're all sitting right next to each other, guess what? That thing just takes you go backwards down the ride. You don't really see where you're going. It's not, I don't know. It's just, for me, Cali River Rapids is if it's super hot and I'm leaving literally right now, I'm going to do it. Like this year, we're doing 2 days at Animal Kingdom. So, you know, when we leave one of the days, maybe I'll jump in line if it's not a horrible wait. I'm not waiting a ton of time there for that ride. Right now, it's a 50-minute wait. I can't imagine waiting 50 minutes for that.
I don't know when I would do it. Because if you do it at the end of the night, then when you're getting on a bus or ride share or whatever else, you're just soaked and you're sitting in a wet shirt. Or do you do it in the middle of the day and then you're in that wet shirt the rest of the day and humid, or you know?
I guess it dries off,
but I mean, do you change, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. Cali River Rapids is my number 3. We've said we beat that dead horse. So
last time we went, we all wore raincoats.
Okay.
So we had.
I did. I mean, I've worn a poncho on it, of course, but
yeah,
that doesn't matter. You're still. I mean, so then you're in a poncho that's making you sweat through your shirt.
Oh yeah. Like that's true.
Like,
so then either way,
it's a lose in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got for number 2?
Number 2 is a favorite ride of some of the people in our family.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and your son's not going to be happy about this, but. My number 2 is Grand Fiesta Tour with the 3 Caballeros.
Wow.
I know, but it's not a great ride. I like it, and I go on it every single time, but there's really not a lot of good about it. And if you were to compare it to everything else in the park,
I am shocked that you are naming this.
I don't know. I think it's, I don't know.
It's not on my list, folks.
Yeah. I do it every time, but it's just, I don't know. It's probably lower weight even than Imagination. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I can tell you right now. I got the app open. Yeah. So as we're sitting here, it's noon on a Sunday, in the middle of July. So it should be peak season. And right now at the Mexico Pavilion, you are talking. Let me just switch over to wait times, and it's a 5-minute wait.
Yeah. So which that's probably the time it takes you to walk into the door and down to get into the boats.
Yeah, I've never waited longer than, I think when we were with you guys this past summer was the longest wait.
Yeah, and we were behind that maybe 7 minutes.
Yeah, we were behind that influencer who was live YouTubing.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, I can't believe it's on your list. I thought about it, but I can't bring myself to put it on there. I like it. My son likes it.
It's not great.
Your son likes it, right?
I know.
He loves them.
He does. It's not a great ride.
Okay. All right.
I don't hate the ride personally, but if you're lining it up against all the other things that are in Walt Disney World, I don't know. I don't think it stacks up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Donald ride, so I like it because of that.
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong that they could do something better. I just don't know what that better would be.
It's relaxing. It's a good way to get a little bit of air conditioning.
But that whole pavilion's air conditioned. I mean,
it's nice. It's
100% indoors.
It's nice in there. And,
I think it's one of the best World Showcase pavilions, just because it's completely indoors.
Yeah, and you walk in there and it's like nighttime.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess
sorry, but that's
I understand. I'm shocked because I do know how much.
Is what it is.
Family members like it.
It's okay. I have a connection with Figment, and that's my number 3.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
I really thought we were going to match up a lot more than this. But we did match up.
Makes for a more interesting show.
We did match up on our number 2, which is, we didn't match up on number 2 as far as the rankings, but we did match up for it. And that is, once again, no shockers, Journey into Imagination. This hurt me to put here.
Yeah.
But I have to. It's just not. It's not what it deserves. Figment deserves better. And I want Dreamfinder. Back.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm not really sure how you fix it. I do think, like you said, Eric Idle, we like him. We know him from Monty Python.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Kids nowadays might watch Monty Python and be like, hey, there's the guy from Figment.
Probably.
And like, so there's an update even there. And there's so much to do because I get the idea, right? The journey into imagination, whatever you imagine can be true, like one little spark. But there's nothing about that that's imaginative.
Here's how you save it, and it's very inexpensive. You just do projections. You hire somebody to animate some incredible projections with color and, almost like something surrealism, and you do a whole section where you're riding through and you're going through the imagination projections. I mean, that would be so much cheaper.
It would be, but as somebody who runs our social media and listens to the echo chamber that is Twitter and now Threads, people would lose their minds. They were freaking out that there wasn't going to be enough animatronics on Tiana's when it was announced that there's going to be over 50, and I was like, what do you want?
Then keep the Figment animatronic,
which is a joke. That's not even. I mean, it just pops out of it. It's awful.
Yeah, and it
half the time it doesn't work.
The time.
I would say for me that they could easily do something a la Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway with Figment.
Yeah, having projections and then also having
like
an environment.
Because those aren't like, when I think of the audio animatronics in that ride, they're not like over the top expensive ones. We're not talking about a Yeti that still doesn't work. We're not talking about those new top of the line ones over in is it Tokyo Sea, or I can't remember which one.
For Beauty and the Beast.
No, I was thinking of the new Frozen one where it's like,
both are. The Frozen one's cool too.
Yeah, so it like basically looks like ours that have the projected faces, but actually looks like a face instead of like somebody painted on a face.
And the coloring is off.
Yeah. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Journey into Imagination is my number 2, which brings us to number 1, which I suspect may be
I've talked about this one a lot.
Go ahead.
And I wanted to retheme this one on a recent.
Yeah, it's the same one then.
Yeah,
okay.
we had a recent episode for our patrons where we wanted to retheme a particular ride, and I had some ideas. I thought it would be really cool to. Again, this was one that kind of ended up going the more Star Wars direction, but the worst ride, and I would say maybe this is the worst ride in all of Walt Disney World. I mean, if you include everything, maybe even. Yeah, I'll even include everything West Coast. I think Mission Space is the worst.
This ride is so bad that it's my number 1 ride, and I've never even touched it. You
should, just so you can, and you'll ride it and get off and go, yep, bad.
Yeah, maybe the reason that it's number 1 from every ride review I watch, every time somebody talks about it, it's and I'll go and experience it this time around probably because. Like I said, we're eating a turkey leg. We're drinking a pickle shake.
I'm looking forward to that.
But the idea of this ride, the claustrophobia, the spinning at 35 miles an hour to make you feel like you're, I think it's supposed to be like 2.5 G's or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like
option 1, and then option 2 is basically you get in and you sit in this, it's almost like a kid's car seat.
I believe the words you said were, I feel like I'm in a coffin, and I said
donuts.
And somebody,
but you have to be in a kid's car seat in a coffin.
Yeah. I mean, because I jokingly said, how many times have you been in a coffin? And we got a bunch of people like messaging me like that had me cracking up. But it's true. It's like, I don't want to feel so claustrophobic, and I feel like that's a big part of why that Space 220 restaurant, like they put that Space 220 restaurant over there, right? And the ride's awful. It just is. If you want to attract people to that part of the park, right? Because a big part of Disney's goals when they're putting stuff in is trying to distribute people.
Right. So the Guardians of the Galaxy ride is the furthest from Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. The 2 newest rides stretched furthest apart.
Right. I think that if they rethemed that, now you've got reasons to be in all different parts of the park. If they rethemed the other one on our list, Journey into Imagination, and we've talked about this on a recent show as well, Disney did this wrong when they decided to redo Epcot and put it under construction. They did the center of the park that was meh. It wasn't bad. It was okay, but then they left out the things that are bad and need help.
Yes.
So, yeah, I couldn't agree more that Mission Space belongs there. You've done it how many times?
Once, maybe twice. No, I think just once.
Yeah. People are going to be like, well, you can't, how can you put that on your list? You've only experienced it once, or for me, none. It's that bad. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, just the premise of it.
I'm looking forward to your video where you say, okay, here's our number 1 worst ride. I'm going to experience it. And you'll walk out and go, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just know. I can't see a world where you're going to walk out and go like, yeah, I was wrong. That was definitely a good ride. I don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I understand the idea of what they wanted to accomplish here, right? I mean, it makes sense. And, there was a time when space, the space exploration stuff is just super popular. You're in Florida. People might be going down there for a launch or something.
Cape Canaveral.
But there's got to be another ride to put in there. You had mentioned you wanted to retheme it possibly to a Star Wars thing.
Even if it's like an overlay.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. I mean, they do that with Space Mountain in California. They do Hyperspace Mountain.
Right.
And they project Millennium Falcon and things like that on the ceiling. I mean, what you're doing is you're getting in a baby car seat in a coffin and they're pressing play on a movie. That's all that's happening.
And they're spinning you really fast.
No, not the one I did.
Right. But I mean, if you're doing
or
Mission
you're spinning.
Orange,
Right. Correct. But if you do the other version, which is green, I think.
Yep.
They just press play on a movie. Make that movie, just render a new one, make it Star Wars.
Yeah.
And put some stormtroopers in a costume, because you can hear all about this if you go on our Patreon and you listen to the episode. You can hear all the details.
Yeah.
But an easy fix is you just have 3 people in stormtrooper outfits, and they escort you in, and then you
get
into the ride.
Yep.
There you go.
All right.
That's a cheap solution.
So you got any other? I know we mentioned some of our honorable mentions because we doubled up on them, but do you have any others?
It was Smuggler's Run and Dinosaur.
Okay. I do have another one that I didn't put on here because it's not a ride per se.
Sure.
But it is an attraction that I think is bad. That is Tough to Be a Bug.
I like Tough to Be a Bug. My family hates it. They don't like the creepy crawlies. The animation's a little dated. Yeah, I mean,
that's.
I don't know. I'm not going to argue with that. I enjoy it, and it's bad for a lot of reasons too. But yeah, okay.
That's the IP property you're going to put into Animal Kingdom. I mean, like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's not a popular IP. The show is it's okay. I don't mind the creepy crawlies. I don't mind all that stuff. It's just, I feel they could have done so much better in there. All right, whatever. But that's on my honorable mention. I already mentioned Triceratops Spin was on my honorable mention, and the only reason it didn't make my list and bumped Dinosaur down from my number 5 was just because it really is the only very kid-centric ride. I mean, you can pick, you can call like the Savannah or the Savannah or whatever, the Safari. There we go. That's what I was saying. You can count the Safari as a very kid-friendly ride, obviously, but like as far as rides, because I don't even think that's a whole other, like, that's not a ride in my mind. That's like an experience.
I thought maybe you were going to put Navi River on here.
No, you don't. As a ride goes, it doesn't even make my honorable mention because as a ride goes, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the queue. I don't like how long it takes to get on that. I think it's overrated, super overrated, but it's not a bad ride. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Got anything else to mention?
No.
Oh, awesome.
That was it. And it's a lot of times it's hard to do this, because I know how much your son likes Grand Fiesta Tour, and these are all my honest opinions, and I think you said it the best way with your MIT comparison.
Yeah. Even the smartest people in the world, somebody's got to come in last in that class. That graduating class has a last.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.